Today, I'm going to tell you a truth that society hides from you with all its might. But first of all, I firmly ask you to like this video now. Subscribe to the channel if you're a man and are tired of being deceived. Comment below if you've ever felt this kind of veiled rejection, and share this content with your friends who still live trapped in romantic illusions. Because this truth that I'm going to tell you now needs to reach the right men, the few who have the courage to leave the emotional matrix. Now let's get straight to the point. Women hate men over 35 without a girlfriend, and the main reason is simple, cruel, and real. The happy single man exposes women's hidden unhappiness. He is a silent threat to the dominant narrative. Because when a man reaches 35, without children, without a wife, with money in his pocket, freedom in his hands, training up to date, a cool head, and without having to beg for emotional crumbs from anyone, he becomes living proof that life can be good without the traditional script. And that bothers us deeply. It bothers me because most women spent their entire youth being flattered, living off male attention, choosing and discarding men like they change clothes, believing that this source would be eternal. But then the years go by, their sexual market value starts to drop, which is biological, natural, inevitable, and they hope that when they reach their early 30s, they will still have the same men they rejected back then at their disposal. But the 35-year-old man who understands the game doesn't go back to the cycle. He has evolved. He is no longer there to pay the bills, listen to complaints, serve as an emotional trash can or a plan B. And this man becomes a cruel mirror for the woman who bet all her chips on temporary beauty and ignored time. His happiness without a woman by his side exposes her regret. Because while he is in the best phase of his life, she is silently panicking about, what if I end up alone? And do you know what she does? She attacks, she ridicules, she calls him immature, gay, selfish, a child, because she needs him to feel bad about the freedom he has achieved. She needs him to go back to chasing romantic love, a ring, a commitment, so that she still has a chance to sell a value that is no longer the same. That is why the free man without a girlfriend, with his own purpose, is hated. He is living proof that women are no longer the center of the male universe. And this breaks the entire emotional structure in which many women were raised. Have you ever felt this firsthand? Have you noticed sideways looks, criticism disguised as concern, jokes about your singleness as if it were a failure? It is not a coincidence. It is an attack mechanism. And if you do not have an armored mind, you end up going back to the game just to fit into a script that is not yours. This video is to remind you, the fact that you are single at 35 and happy with your life is a victory, not a shame. It is the result of having resisted the system that wants to turn you into an emotional workhorse. Don't let the judgment of those who do not understand freedom put you back in prison. Because being free is uncomfortable, especially for those who have never had the courage to be. Now tell me, why does society push so much the idea that a man is only complete with a woman by his side? Will you continue to accept this lie, or will you take control of your own narrative? Leave a comment and let's continue to destroy illusions together. Female anger against male independence is not an isolated incident. It is not an exaggeration. It is not a conspiracy theory. It is a direct reflection of the breaking of an invisible social contract in which men should always be available, emotionally needy, willing to sacrifice their freedom for a little affection, care, or sex. The truth is raw. When a man begins to free himself, to live for himself, to become a complete being without needing female validation, he automatically becomes a threat to the emotional system that sustains modern emotional manipulation. He begins to show through his actions that a full, productive, disciplined, and even pleasurable life can exist without the constant need for female approval. And this generates hatred, yes, because it destroys the farce that a man's value lies in how many women he pleases or keeps around. A woman frustrated with an emotionally free man is not angry because he is bad, aggressive, or a jerk, as they like to label him. She is angry because he does not need her, does not chase her, does not bow down, does not sell himself for a smile, a nude, or a promise of company. And society, addicted to placing men as women's emotional servants, reacts with the same anger disguised as concern or warning. They say he is insensitive, cold, that something wrong must have happened when in fact the only mistake he made was waking up. Women's anger against independent men is the pure expression of the despair of someone who has lost emotional control over others. And the more independent a man becomes, the more she tries to pull him back with criticism, irony, emotional games, and subtle traps like, "Oh, are you really happy like that? Nobody wants to grow old alone. Be careful not to become bitter. A man without a woman becomes an animal." Phrases disguised as advice, but which hide the discomfort in front of a man who has discovered that peace of mind is better than any toxic relationship. That mental freedom is worth more than unstable female attention, and that no man needs to live around the expectation of pleasing others. What do you think happens when an ordinary man starts to reject invitations to go out, preferring to train, study, work on his projects, take care of his own body and mind without having to answer to anyone? He becomes the target of dirty looks, disguised gossip, concerns that are nothing more than attempts to tame him again. Have you ever been through this? Have you ever felt that the more you dedicate yourself to yourself, the more they try to belittle you, mock you, or paint you as the one in the wrong? Because the system was designed to keep you trapped in the cycle of compliments, kisses, touches, the promise of a future together, all of this as bait, as currency for control. The independent man is dangerous because he is not manipulable. He is not afraid of loneliness. He does not beg for presents. He has learned to find meaning in his own journey, and because of this, he becomes invisible to the radar of women who seek emotional influence, and all too visible to the envious eyes of those who never had the courage to break the script. What stops you from being this man? Why do so many people accept the role of being emotionally available, financially subservient, and sexually desperate? Because being free demands something that is frightening. Total responsibility for your life, your desires, your choices. And when a woman realizes that she is no longer the center of that man's emotional universe, she feels that she has lost her throne, and her response is anger, irony, contempt, or silence. But this is not the end. It is the beginning of your true ascension. Do you have the courage to face this path? Will you continue looking for crumbs, or will you finally sit at the table of your own greatness? Comment here if you have already experienced this change and what happened. The truth is that male independence is the greatest rebellion against a world that expects men to sacrifice themselves in the name of love, but never receive true love in return. Because a man without a girlfriend is a danger to the system, a walking risk to the artificial order that was created to keep men under control. He is the glitch in the matrix, the error that threatens to expose the whole farce. And why is that? Because he is the only one who cannot be tamed by emotional guilt, who does not kneel before emotional blackmail, who does not live his life trying to prove his worth to a woman, and for that very reason he becomes free, uncontrollable, and unacceptable to a system that only works with broken, needy, and dependent men. A man without a girlfriend, who does not miss having one, who has built in a peace, a strong body, finances in order, and a sharp mind, is the greatest terror not only for women, but for the entire social circle that revolves around female validation. Do you know why? Because he broke the script. He has become the only type of man that they cannot manipulate. He does not react to tests, does not get emotional with games, does not beg for affection. He looks into a woman's eyes and sees behind the emotional makeup, the insecurities, the fear of loneliness, the manipulation disguised as affection. And she knows it. She feels it. Because women, unlike what many people think, are not afraid of scoundrels, traitors, or scoundrels. These are still predictable, still part of the game. What she really fears is the man who doesn't play, the one who doesn't depend on her to have sex, to feel like a man, or to give meaning to his own existence. This man is a cruel mirror, a living reminder that she is not the center of the universe, a symbol of male freedom that exposes how much her validation has lost its value in the face of his self-sufficiency. This is the man who makes it clear, I don't need to please you to live well. And this type of attitude dismantles the power she has always had over most men. Women fear this man because he is proof that feminine value, based on beauty, youth, and sexuality, is not enough to keep a man who knows what he wants, who has a mission, who knows how to say no, who has already understood that peace is worth more than any romance. And that is why they try to belittle this type of man. They call him immature, gay, selfish, childish. Any label they can try to stick to disqualify the lifestyle that they themselves know they cannot control. But the truth is simple. They fear the man without a girlfriend because he is the only one who does not live in fear of losing her. He is the only one who does not need to lie to himself to sleep in peace. And if you are hearing this and feel uncomfortable inside, maybe it is time to ask yourself, are you living your freedom or just playing the role that is expected of you? Are you the master of your mind or just another puppet in the emotional theater created to keep you obedient? Comment here if you have ever felt this kind of pressure. And most importantly, what would you do differently if you had known this before? Because in the end, the big question is, do you have the courage to be free, or will you continue living on a leash, calling prison a relationship?